The morning sun poured through the massive glass windows of an exclusive five-star restaurant in New York City, making everything inside sparkle. Businessmen in expensive suits filled the tables, their quiet conversations a low hum beneath the clinking of fine china and the gentle notes of a piano. Among the polished silver and gleaming wine glasses, a young waitress named Maya moved with a silent grace. Her red uniform was perfectly pressed, but the tiredness in her eyes told a story of long hours and double shifts. She worked without a word, balancing heavy trays, her smile polite but often forced. No one could see the heavy weight she carried on her shoulders. Student loans, overdue rent, and a mother at home fighting a serious illness. Maya's world felt like it could break at any moment, but she held herself together with dignity, no matter how people treated her. At the most important table in the center of the room sat Richard Caldwell, a billionaire CEO known as much for his arrogance as for his incredible wealth. In his late 40s, he wore a navy blue suit that cost more than Maya's rent for an entire year. Seated across from him were international investors, powerful men who had flown in to finalize a historic $3.5 billion deal. This meeting was more than just business for Richard. It was the moment he had been working toward his entire life. This deal was the final piece that would secure his legacy in the corporate world. Every person in the restaurant, even those pretending not to watch, seemed to feel that something huge was happening at that table. And then it happened. Maya approached their table, her focus entirely on the tray she was balancing. As she leaned forward to place Richard's plate in front of him, the edge of her hand accidentally brushed against his sleeve. It was a tiny, meaningless touch, an accident that should have been over in a second. But Richard's eyes narrowed, his pride instantly wounded by what he saw as a clumsy mistake. He slammed his hand down on the table, making the silverware jump. His voice, sharp and cruel, sliced through the air. "Don't touch me, you stupid girl." His words were louder than the piano, louder than all the conversations combined. In that single, shocking moment, the entire restaurant went still. Gasps could be heard from nearby tables. Eyes widened in disbelief. The silence that followed was so heavy and complete that Maya's own breathing felt deafening. Maya's hands began to tremble, but she didn't say a word. Years of working in service had taught her to swallow her pain and keep moving forward. Still, the insult cut deep. Not just because of the words, but because he had made her feel like nothing, a mere target for his anger. She quietly excused herself and walked away, fighting back the tears that threatened to fall. The investors at the table exchanged uneasy glances. These were men who had built their own empires, but they had also learned that a person's character was more important than any number on a contract. The oldest among them, a man named Mr. Han, leaned back in his chair, his face unreadable and cold. He whispered something to the other investors, and in a matter of seconds, the entire mood at the table changed. Richard, however, didn't notice a thing. He smirked, straightened his expensive tie, and started talking again about profits and global markets. But the investors were no longer listening. Their minds were already made up. To them, a man who could not show basic respect to a waitress could never be trusted to lead a partnership that depended on trust, loyalty, and human decency. One by one, they placed their napkins on the table. One by one, they stood up, the sound of their chairs scraping against the floor echoing in the silent room. Richard's confident speech faltered, and a look of confusion spread across his face as he watched them turn to leave without a single word of explanation. Then, Mr. Han paused and looked back at him. His voice was low but firm, carrying a weight that commanded the attention of everyone in the room. "If you cannot respect the people who serve you," he said calmly, "how can we trust you with billions?" In that moment, Richard Caldwell's world began to fall apart. Later that day, the calls came, confirming his worst fears. The $3.5 billion deal had completely collapsed. The news spread like fire. Headlines appeared on financial news channels, and his company's shareholders began to panic. For Richard, the public humiliation was a nightmare. But for Maya, the story was far from over. While Richard lost a fortune in a matter of seconds, Maya gained something that money could never buy. The investors, deeply impressed by her quiet dignity in the face of such disrespect, had a quiet conversation of their own. Through their foundations, they arranged for her to receive a special scholarship fund. A few days later, Maya was called into her manager's office, her heart pounding with fear. But instead of bad news, she was told that her student loans were going to be completely paid off. Her mother's medical treatments would be fully funded. A new path, one leading toward her dreams, was now wide open before her. Maya had never asked for a miracle, but one had found her anyway. It was born from her own strength, her unwavering dignity, and the graceful way she carried herself when the world tried to tear her down. That evening, as the sun set, Maya walked home, her heart feeling lighter than it had in years. She saw her mother resting by the window, the golden light of the sunset wrapping around her like a warm blanket. For the first time in a long time, hope felt real. The billionaire had lost an empire built on arrogance, but she had gained a future built on something far more valuable: peace, dignity, and the knowledge that true strength is found in how we treat others. In a single, ordinary day, a powerful lesson was taught that power without humility is meaningless, and money without respect is worthless.